You can almost picture it now, a child standing alone outside the headteacher's door, palms damp, listening to footsteps echo along a polished corridor that seemed to stretch for miles. Back then, this moment was part of school life, a quiet pause that felt both frightening and strangely expected. Today, of course, schools focus on well-being.com conversations and restorative approaches. But in those years, discipline was woven tightly into the rhythm of every day. What feels unthinkable now was once seen as preparation for real life, and understanding that shift sets the stage for everything that followed. Step inside a mid-20th century British classroom and you re-met with a world built on order and expectation. Wooden desks were carved with generations of initials. Chalkboards dominated the front wall, and the teacher's desk sat like a command post, a quiet reminder of who guided the room. Discipline wasn't just a school matter. It reflected the wider values of the time. Communities believed in respect, routine, and the idea that children should learn responsibility early. So when rules were broken, consequences followed naturally, almost without question. Teachers were figures of calm authority, and their word carried real weight. Most pupils accepted this structure because it mirrored the homes and streets they grew up in. Today's focus on well-being and personalized support feels worlds away from that era, yet those classrooms shaped millions. And to understand why punishments felt so normal back then, we first need to explore the traditions that defined them. What stands out most about old British school discipline isn't just the rules themselves, but how quietly they slipped into the rhythm of everyday life. Take the familiar corridor. Wait, that long stretch of lino beneath buzzing lights, where a child stood silently, listening to distant footsteps and the soft hum of lessons continuing without them. It wasn't dramatic. It was simply a moment to pause, breathe, and think. For many, the corridor felt colder, not because of the temperature, but because every sound seemed magnified when you were alone with your thoughts. Then there was copying lines, a task that filled exercise books with neat rows of promises to try harder next time. The scent of chalk dust hung in the air as pencils scratched across the page. It was repetitive, certainly, but it carried a message: reflect, reset, and return with a clearer head. Today, it might be seen as old-fashioned, yet for countless pupils it became a quiet ritual of learning self-control. Nothing, however, compared to the headteacher's office. Even the doorway felt powerful. Pupils walked slowly, shoes tapping on wooden floors polished to a shine. Inside, the room seemed larger than life, shelves filled with books, a large clock ticking too loudly, and a sense that time moved differently there. It wasn't just fear, it was respect, shaped by a culture that placed enormous trust in authority. Sometimes the consequence came in a subtler form, like silent lunchtimes. Eating in calm, structured quiet was a reminder to follow rules, though many remember glancing around the room, watching spoons and forks move with unusual care. Even the clatter of trays felt softer on those days. Other times, discipline meant stepping in to help. Extra classroom duties placed pupils beside the teacher after lessons, tidying chalkboards, straightening books, or giving the floor a quick sweep. These tasks weren't punishments in a harsh sense. They were small acts of responsibility, often carried out with a strange mix of embarrassment and pride. Then came after-school reflection time, when a child remained behind as the building emptied, listening to the fading echoes of classmates heading home. The quiet could feel heavy, but it offered space to reset before stepping back into the world outside. And finally, there was desk isolation being moved to the front, where focus was unavoidable. The scratch of chalk, the rustle of paper, every whisper became sharper, almost guiding attention, whether you wanted it or not. Each of these traditions, simple yet unforgettable, shaped the culture of British schools, and understanding their emotional weight helps us see what they taught beyond the rules themselves. Looking back, those old-school punishments carried lessons that stretched far beyond the moment itself. They taught structure, patience, and the quiet art of calming down before rejoining the world. Standing in a corridor or staying behind after class gave you space to think, breathe, and return with a clearer mind. Even the soft hum of the classroom or the tap of shoes on lino floors became part of that rhythm. And when you finally stepped back to your desk or rejoined your friends, there was a sense of relief, a reminder that you'd reset, understood, and were ready again. Today's schools, with their focus on well-being and gentle guidance, feel worlds apart from the structured discipline many grew up with. Neither era is better or worse, simply different reflections of their time. What once shaped resilience has evolved into support, leaving us nostalgic for the past, yet appreciative of how far childhood has come. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.